Welcome to the Union Federation podcast, where we discuss both Star Trek and the Orville here on the Fandom Podcast Network. My name is Kevin. I'm going to be your captain. This week's episode, Union Federation Podcast, episode 182, Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 3, Jinaal. And I'd like to introduce my co-host for this show. With me is Amy Nelson, First Officer and Counselor, and the founder of the BQN. Amy, how are you? Oh, wait, you're on mute. You forgot the mute button again.
Oh, my goodness. Well, hello there. So good to be back. Finally, you can hear me and see me if you're watching on YouTube.
We are now into episode 3 of the final season, and things are getting interesting. And we will get into that. But first, we got some... first of all, this is the Fandom Podcast Network, Union Federation, and the BQN. I wanted to, first of all, get into some breaking news, which I think is a little exciting. So Star Trek on Paramount Plus, here on their socials, said Star Trek Strange New Worlds will return for a 4th season. The final season of Star Trek Lower Decks arrives on Paramount Plus this fall. So we got good news and kind of some bad news if you're a Lower Decks fan. But what is it that you said, Amy? You said season 5 is the what?
5 is the new 7.
Yes. Or 10 episodes, or what is it? 10 episodes is the new 22, 24
26,
episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're excited, obviously, that we're going to get some more Strange New Worlds. That is great. We're excited about that. But sad for Lower Decks, for us that love the Lower Decks. We are getting the final season this fall, which is the 5th season. And they put up a nice note here from Mike McMahon and Alex Kurtzman saying, we wanted to let you know that this fall will be the 5th and final season of Star Trek Lower Decks. While 5 seasons of any series these days seems like a miracle, it's no exaggeration to say that every second we've spent making this show has been a dream come true. Our incredible cast, crew, and artists have given you everything they have because they love the characters they play. They love the world we built. And more than anything, we all love Star Trek. We're excited, for the world to see our hilarious 5th season, which we're working on right now. And the good news is that all previous episodes will remain on Paramount Plus. So there is still so much to look forward to as we celebrate the Cerritos crew with a big send-off. Finally, thank you all for always being so creative and joyful, for filling convention halls and chanting Lower Decks. We remain hopeful that even beyond Season 5, Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, Rutherford, and the whole Cerritos crew will live on with new adventures. Live long and prosper, Mike McMahon and Alex Kurtzman. I just need to see some Lower Decks in live action one more time. What do you think? What do you think, Amy? Will we get that?
Yeah. My gosh. There were a lot of Trek fans that was hoping that because you didn't have to worry about characters aging, your actors aging, that Lower Decks was going to be the Simpsons of Trek, and go on for 20 gazillion years. There were also some fans that were hoping, and Jerry O'Connell actually tweeted it, that he's hoping that Lower Decks will get picked up by someone else. However, once you read this, Kevin, and it says that all episodes are staying on Paramount Plus, leads me to believe they're not going to be selling the property like they did Prodigy.
Right.
Prodigy got picked up on Netflix, and you can't watch it. So I'm feeling like there's not going to be much hope for getting more Lower Decks.
Yeah, and unless that means they're going to keep the original 5 episodes and not, and then maybe source out the next one. I don't know. But the fact that they're saying that they're going to be on Paramount Plus is a good sign, because Paramount Plus apparently has gotten rid of some Trek, while it was temporarily on other platforms and hopefully and stuff. So I would love to see even just like a movie or something would be kind of fun later, or an hour episode, because I'm happy that we're getting five seasons at least. That's what, about 60 episodes, I think, something like that, 50 to 60 episodes total. So that's fine. We got a lot, and it seems like there's a lot in these episodes, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's now a petition going around to save Lower Decks. There was for Prodigy, and it almost makes my heart a little sad. How do you think the Discovery cast and crew feel like that they got canceled and no one really was up in arms? Save Discovery, hashtag save Discovery. Let's create a petition. That never happened for Discovery. Breaks my heart.
What does that tell you?
I know.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, and I'm going to touch on it later, but something interesting that Wilson Cruz said in the Ready Room, which I thought was interesting, that's kind of telling about that. So, but let's go ahead and get into the meat of the show. Now, before, of course, got to warn you, we're going to get all spoilery here. So if you have not seen the newest episode, all right, our first away mission. All right, we have Union Federation Podcast, episode 82. We are discussing season 5 of Star Trek Discovery, episode 3, Jinaal. And this is the Admiral's Log episode synopsis. Do you want to hit this one, Amy?
Absolutely.
All right.
Together with First Officer Rayner, the Discovery continues their search for clues, the progenitor's message. After learning that one of the scientists, Jinaal Brix, was a host for a Trill symbiont, Burnham and her team traveled to the Trill homeworld. To assist with the search, the Trill allowed Jinaal's consciousness to transfer temporarily to Dr. Culber's body. Burnham and Booker accompany Jinaal into the wilderness to search for the next clue. The group are attacked by several cloaked insect-like creatures. After discovering the creatures were defending their nest, Booker uses his telepathic powers to convince them they mean no harm. Jinaal is convinced the Federation can now be trusted with the secrets of the progenitor's message and gives them the next clue. However, the group are tailed by Malene, who has infiltrated the Trill. Meanwhile, Rayner meets the crew of the Discovery, including Stamets and Tilly. Saru also juggles his new diplomatic job and his engagement with the Navarre president, Tarina.
First reactions, Amy?
I really enjoyed this episode. I saw some reviews that were like, oh, this wasn't as good. The action wasn't as up there. Well, yeah, that's because you had the beginning of our series, which was super high action, but we got good action with Book and Burnham. And again, just for me, there was a lot going on. Usually we're used to like plot A and plot B. Well, we had like A, B, C, and D. For me, my favorite plot was the Saru and Tarina. I'm not going to lie. That was my favorite. I was smiling every time they were on camera. And then all the others were, to me, the subplots. What was your favorite plot of the episode?
I'll be honest with you. The one with Tilly telling the new first officer, get your head out of your ass, basically. We're going to touch on that a little bit, but I did like, I like that they're on this search. I love that we get the shout out for Trill, and there's a Beta Z mention as well. I thought was kind of cool. The one thing I thought was interesting is the outside location that they're shooting at with the weird cloaked creatures and the thing. I feel like we've been there before, but dressed differently. It's almost like the new. Remember in TNG, the one place that they would always film in the side set, and they call it Planet Hell, basically. Yes. They would just redress it. I feel like this outdoor location is just like their version of Planet Hell. We're like, okay, what planet is this going to be? It's somewhere on the outside of Toronto somewhere. And I know that they filmed there before, but it's kind of starting to feel familiar. So it's all right.
Yeah, it's our new Vasquez Rocks,
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like that mining pit.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to ask you, because I'm forgetting and I can't remember right now, and I haven't done the research full on here, but have we been to Trill before?
For sure in Deep Space Nine, and then we were there last season in Discovery.
Right. Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
Forgive me, guys. I have not rewatched any episodes of Discovery, full disclosure, for reasons. And, but like I told myself, I will always watch every Star Trek episode at least once. So I'm having trouble remembering some of this stuff here. Did we see Trill slugs swimming in the waters before? I actually thought that was kind of cool. Like, there's the Trill slugs. Like, oh, there he is. He's in the water. He's a slug. Go get him.
Did we see it in Deep Space Nine, or was it alluded to that that's where the symbionts live, is in the water until they're joined to a person, a physical body?
Yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't sure, but I thought that was a nice touch where you see it kind of just swimming in the little pools, and the pools kind of lit up a little bit and stuff like that. So, yeah. I like this setting of Trill. I like the way it was done. The Trill host or whatever dressed up in red looked a little culty for me, though. Got to tell you, but still very Star Trek-y, and I get it. That's their uniform and such. Interesting that they couldn't come until they solved a riddle. I was kind of thrown off by that. Why? Is it because I guess they were given that riddle, not really knowing who was going to eventually ask to come, and then the riddle being presented? All they knew was to say the riddle and then know what the right answer was.
Right.
Especially since they said Beta said.
Yeah, that was lovely. And why would they leave it with not human, leave it with a living sentient thing that has a possibility of dying? Like,
right.
Yes, here's the clue, and they need the right answer. Otherwise, we're not going to let them in. I can understand that because it's, sort of Indiana Jonesy, I get it. But you're leaving it with someone that could die, then the whole thing is for naught. Yeah,
interesting. We'll touch on that later. But I want to talk about some coupling here. I want to talk about a couple of couples. See what I did there? And you mentioned it earlier. Let's talk about Trina and Saru. Now, Trina is Vulcan completely, right? Full Vulcan,
yes.
Right? Okay. And then we get a little drama. There's always drama with Vulcans. They're always if you notice Vulcans, they're always really worried about looks and presentation and who you hang out with and blah, blah, blah. And one of the representatives, of course, talks to Saru afterwards and, and kind of like, is a little concerned about what's going on, but we get a really nice kind of turnaround here after Saru is starting to kind of like wonder what's going on, but then he commits himself to Trina. Let's go ahead and let's make this announcement. I'm here with you. Very sweet, by the way. And Tara Rosling as Trina, kind of hot. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm just throwing it out there. Beautiful. I noticed a little symbol a pin that she had, and the other Vulcan as well. It reminded me of the Romulan symbol a little bit. Did you notice that? Is that now an incorporation of the Romulans and the Vulcans?
Yes, and because I think that was discussed because she's worn that in previous seasons. But with the unification of Romulans and Vulcans, that's the combination now of where they're at for their symbol. Yeah.
And by the way, you gave a little shout out, and I saw this online about one of these aliens reminded you of another alien that we saw in season 1 of TNG.
Yes, Lonely Among Us, and it was like the lizard people and the
kind of snakehead creature.
Yeah, yes. The snakehead and the sheep people.
Yeah. And there's a little trivia on that one of the lizard people, was it the lizard people, or was it the ones that were, I might have been getting it wrong. Maybe it was, it was either lizard people or those other ones, the Antidean assassins that had to have that special food. I just remember Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac.
That's the Antideans. That's the fish people.
That's right. Yeah.
Not the lizard people. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. You corrected me there. But I just thought that was an interesting casting news there. So, So I'm liking what's going on with Trina and Saru here. They seem to have something going on. The thing that I miss about Star Wars is romance, and I like the fact that we're getting some here in Star Trek. So I'm just saying. Yes.
One
speaking
thing,
of, sorry, go ahead.
Can I?
No,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. One thing I love about Tarina, we're going to just do a little woman power here. Like, she is so wise, and she's beyond wise because she knows, okay, let me just start over. A lot of people think that Vulcans are never wrong because they're so logical. And even her aide was like very logical. She should not be making this. The extreme logics will come against her, and they're blah blah blah. He's very logical. Talks to Saru. Saru follows the logic. Goes to Tarina. Now he's young. Tarina's older, has wisdom, and recognizes that is true logic. However, ... I see the bigger picture. And if my constituents thinks that I'm lying to them, I'm going to lose their trust, and I won't be a very effective president anymore. So it's not that his logic wasn't right. It's that he only saw one part of the scenario, and in her wisdom was able to recognize the forest from the trees, and then also set Saru straight by saying, yeah, there's going to be conflict, and we need to work through it together. I accept your apology. Now let's move on. Like,
couples goal. Come on.
Yes, this is unbelievable, wonderful training for us and how to be good at our leadership, how to be good with our relationships.
Yeah, that's a good call, especially if you're going to become a stronger couple. You got to support each other's views, and stand up for each other in certain situations, especially in the political avenue that they're in right now, and him becoming an ambassador and stuff. And I think that's going to be interesting. And I just enjoy kind of little, not necessarily drama between them, which is good, but just what drama is produced or happens because they're now pronouncing themselves as a couple. So that's going to be kind of interesting. They're going to be kind of a power couple. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I mentioned couples. Let's talk about, briefly, let's talk about the other couple here. And that is Tal and Adira. Gray and Adira come to admit that they have grown too far apart in the last few months and mutually break up, though the promise to continue to be there for one another. Obviously they had a long distance relationship going on. My thing is that I don't think that they were close enough because they didn't spend enough time FaceTiming. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. But I want to get your thoughts on the Tal and Adira thing going on, because we got Tal back because of the whole connection to the Trill thing. What were your thoughts about this little subplot, B or C, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, this is going to be like D. This was, they're not my favorites. The relationship is too young, which I'm sure is good for those viewers, those fans who are teenagers or young 20s that, have this fresh, new, budding relationship. But I just don't buy it. I'm glad that we went to Trill. I'm glad that they're broken up because I just don't need to see any more of it.
I'm not invested in them for whatever reason. I'm just like, okay, whatever,
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something that I don't know. Yeah. I'm just not, I don't know. Maybe it's the chemistry. There's no chemistry really between those two actors.
Yeah,
where there is something with other people, So yeah. Just.
I mean, they're both great actors.
Yeah. Definitely.
But you're right. There's something with that chemistry, and I barely buy the Space Dad's relationship with Adira.
Yeah.
There's just something.
Yeah. We're waiting on there. I didn't find much trivia in this episode. I just got a callback for the Trill Giantra ritual returns as rather the part of it where a late Trill host's personality is put in another sentient body for the short time, as Hugh serves as a temporary vessel for Jinaal's memories. And this is where we get an actor, and we'll touch on this a little bit later, where they get to kind of basically play a different character. And of course, we saw that for the first time in TNG. And then, of course, it was definitely shown a lot through DS9. So that's pretty much all I've got regarding any callbacks or trivia. This is directed by Andy Armaganian. And this is where we're going to kind of talk about some of the cast and trivia here, or the trivia about the cast. But I got to give a shout out, though. This is what I call a guest star highlight. And I don't know if this person is considered a guest star or a crew guest star. We get Jet Reno back, and it was really nice to see Tig Notaro back. I love Tig as Jet Reno. And a really great moment where at her very short meeting with Commander Raynar, says, last time I did this, they gave me chips. Yes. I love that they've got.
Do you remember that reference, Kevin?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yeah. But Reno also giving a quick lesson in being a space dad to Stamets. Like, you realize what's going on, with the deer here, right? And he's like, what? Should I? What did you think of Jet Reno's return?
Yeah, I love it. Again, way too short. We needed to see her working with Stamets. She did give him the idea of Half-Life. I get it. But to have that, I just definitely want to see more of her. She's brilliant on screen.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, definitely. One of my favorites. She kills it every time. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's get into our main topic discussion here. So the topic I have here is the search for the next clue that will lead them to the powerful alien artifact that takes Discovery back to Trill. And they're slowly building this puzzle. And I got a part of an article here from Lacey Bauer of Den of Geek here. It says, thanks to a Trill ritual that allows Jinaal's consciousness to be transferred to another body for a limited amount of time, Dr. Culber suddenly becomes a central figure in this particular adventure. The twist seems to exist largely to finally give Wilson Cruz something substantial to do, but he's clearly having such a blast playing something different from anything he's done on the show in the past that it's difficult to resent it too much. And a secret test of character, Jinaal in Hugh's body leads Burnham and Book on a path to the next clue and right into a pair of aggressive Itronox. Burnham and Book are planning to fight them until Burnham sees that they're protecting their eggs. The two then stand down, with Book empathically convincing the Itronox to do likewise, thus convincing Jinaal that they're peaceful and worthy of the clue which he had given in a different location. Amy, how are we feeling about this artifact clue search thus far? It's taken us, obviously, to Trill. As I mentioned, are we going to Beta Z next? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, I'm all for it. I keep drawing back to season 2 with the red signals. I was so excited. Where's the red signal going to take us? Let's find this red angel. Like, I was excited to go on this scavenger hunt. And so now I'm finally getting it here. I hope we get another clue at next week's episode and one more. Let's finish it. Let's not have a red herring and send me off on a different direction, because this is fun. How do you like it?
It's okay. I just don't want it to become too formulaic, where there's another creature, there's another race of people they got to prove themselves to. I would love it if they just go, yeah, it's over here, and they find it. And then that's it. And then you just spend the rest of the episode having some wonderful character moments of people working together and stuff like that, This is where it can I liked how Hugh got a chance to be someone else. I thought that was great, especially when he first makes a transformation, he's looking at his body and going, this guy works out, It's like, and I love Wilson Cruz. I've been a fan of Wilson actually for a very long time. Ever since I first saw him in The So-Called Life, from that one season that we got in the 90s, where he plays one of the friends, and I've always been a fan of his, and I like him in this role. I like that he got to, have some fun with this, but I just don't want the searching of the puzzle thing to become too kind of like, okay, you're on another planet, you got another thing you got to deal with, blah, blah, blah. Let's be creative about the search. Let's not have it kind of be the same thing all the time. That's my only thing.
I can see that. Yeah.
Okay. So the next topic I want to touch on, and this was actually my favorite one, is Raynar getting to know the crew in 20 words or less. And Tilly getting a little pissed off and telling him off. Raynar arrives, and this is from Lacey's article again from Den of Geek. Raynar arrives to take over the ship's first officer and handles it about as well as anyone who saw last week's episode probably expected. He's basically being a jerk to everyone, fully embracing the not here to make friends vibe. He resents being told to spend his first day aboard getting to know the crew, and repeatedly clashes with Tilly, who insists that he needs to connect with them to be an effective leader. Raynar, not a huge fan of talking, completely half-asses it, but still manages to glean quite a bit of genuine information out of the literal 20 words he allows to speak to him. I like to think that Tilly has this command experience down a little bit, because from what I remember in the previous seasons, and she knows how to size people up when it comes to character evaluation. And I like the fact she puts him in his place, and he kind of comes around, and they have that nice kind of moment at the bar, and how the respect comes both way thing happens, because a lot of people try to command respect. Mm-hmm. And you learn that through, like, one of the tropes that you learn through gangster movies is like, you got to give respect to the boss. You got to give respect. And I always thought, like, do you know what that word means? It's not respect, it's fear. Don't mix that up, right?
Yep.
Respect is earned, okay? Mm-hmm. And the way that you do that is giving it both ways, basically, give and take. What is your thought on that? I'm going to say that's plot B, right? Let's do plot B, right?
Okay, yeah.
The chase is plot A. So there you go.
You know, a lot of teachers get this confused as well, because they think, oh, this is my classroom. No, it's respect. You respect your students and they will respect you. It is a two-way street. And it gets confusing when you're in a leadership, type of position. And I get it. One of the reasons why I love Picard is because he does have that distance. But that's not to say he doesn't have a connection with his crew. Like, it's not one or the other. You're putting them together and you are learning about your crew. And I love what she says, anyone can read a file and analyze, but to build the relationship, that's different. Again, making that distinction that so many people don't realize. So I thought it was a great subplot. And I love how she's speaking freely, whether he gives permission or not.
Yeah. I'm digging Raynar, though. Yes, he's rubbing people the wrong way, but I love that conflict. Yeah. And I'm curious to see how he adapts and learns about this crew and hopefully gains respect. And I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. So, he's the Stashwick.
Yeah. Basically, remember how much we hated Stashwick's character at first in Picard season 3, and then at the end we're like, why did he have to die?
I know.
We love you, Stashwick.
Yes, he's gonna be the same, so it's okay.
All right. The last main topic I have for this first away mission here. And this is where things get a little interesting here. What did Maul attach to Adira at the end of Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 3? Maul and Lack are making a move on the USS Discovery. And I got a little bit of snippet here from John Orkula from his Screen Rant article. It says, after Jinaal departed, Dr. Culber's body and Captain Burnham and Cleveland Booker beam back aboard the USS Discovery. Maul secretly places a device on the arm of Ensign Adira Tal. The Trills were warned by Burnham that Maul and Locke could come seeking the clue hidden on Trill. But Guardian Z, XI, if I'm saying it right,
Z.
was certain Trill would withstand any aggressive act. But what the Trill didn't anticipate was Maul, who was human, infiltrating the Trill during their ritual and planting something on the Discovery's young ensign. What was it? Is it a tracking device? What is it? Is it a little assassination bug? What was your thoughts on this? The fact that we see Maul make the reveal. Oh, she's at the pool.
Yes. And it was so well done because everyone's like shaking hands and you're doing it the two-handed way. And then there's this little glimmer and the sound effect of, yep, she's placing something. I automatically was thinking a tracking device. And if you watch the Ready Room, I think there's more clues. I don't know if we want to talk about that now.
Let's save that when we get to the next segment. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, if
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I was just going to say, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you check out the video on YouTube because we're showing all these slides and having fun.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I didn't understand how Maul got there because, as you just said in the article, pointed out, Trill has a great defense system. Like Discovery wasn't even allowed in until they answered a question. Like, so you're feeling like they are screening everyone before they come down to the planet. They've got these defenses, and here comes Maul showing up at a sacred ritual.
What does that tell you about Maul?
Cave. Remember the last time when they're like, no one's allowed in the caves, only certain people, and Burnham goes that was last season. And I'm like, really? And now Maul's just walking in because she's in her red robes. Like, that fell apart for me, and I wasn't happy with it writing on that.
Well, I think that might be answered later. For me, I didn't go, how can that happen? I see why you did, though. For me, I was just like, how powerful is this? What is it? What resources does she have that she's allowed to do this? Who else does she know? Does she have a Trill compatriot? Is there something going on there? I started going down that rabbit hole.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because it always makes it more interesting is like, if there's somebody within that either she's paying off or she's working with or part of, we've only seen the couple, obviously, but what if there's something bigger there? Because if she's there, she's powerful and she's got connections. And I find that fascinating.
Yeah. And she's been a courier, just like Book, and Book knows everyone everywhere. So oh man, I like it.
See, yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and end this away mission and head to the next one here. All right. This is Union Federation Podcast with the BQN, Fandom Podcast Network. We are discussing Season 5 of Discovery, EP.03 Jinaal, and this is our next away mission. And our next away mission is the Ready Room. We love watching the Ready Room and seeing Will interview all these wonderful actors from the show, getting some insight. And you also get some video from the creators as well about certain scenes. And in this episode, we have with Wil Wheaton, we have the interview with Wilson Cruz. Wilson Cruz on Culber's transformations. Wilson Cruz, Hugh Culber, joins Wil Wheaton in the Ready Room to discuss his character's evolution and the challenge of taking on a different persona in Star Trek Season 5, EP.03 Jinaal. Plus, get behind the scenes look at the show's incredible VR wall. The first topic I thought I'd bring up here is Wilson Cruz gets to play a totally different character, Jinaal. And what I don't know if you got this reference, but he said in the interview that he went for the Jack Palance kind of take on it in the movie City Slickers vibe. Did you ever see City Slickers with Billy Crystal?
Yes. Which one is Jack Palance?
He's the older guy that is the experienced cowboy that teaches these city cowboys. And then he passes away after he's given his thing. And he's very hard on him. He's very funny. And Jack Palance won an Oscar for that role as a best supporting actor and famously did one-arm push-ups on the stage after he won it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's awesome.
And then that's where he talks about how Wilson saying how when Jinaal gets this new body, and he's looking at Hugh's body going, this guy works out, this is going to be fun, So your thoughts on that interview?
Yeah, it was, I sort of wish that he would have talked more about how he was able to just change his entire demeanor, his voice, like how he was moving his body and his face, and even the connection with Burnham was different. I'm like, this is a totally new character. So hats off to Wilson for accomplishing that. I loved it, and I wish we could see more of it.
I just want to say too, although I'm not the biggest fan of Star Trek Discovery, I am I do like watching these for the first time, but I really respect the work that's put in the show, the acting that's put into the show, the moments that these characters share together. But most importantly, can we just say the two coolest coats in Star Trek right now are what Booker's wearing, and then, of course, that white medical uniform that Hugh Culber has. Look at this picture that we have here. How badass do both of those guys look?
Yeah, and it looks even better unzipped.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I want to also touch on the lights, camera, action segment here, which the VX crew members and some of the cast discuss the previous first episode about the sand runner sequence in the desert. Yeah. And what they did was the crew went down to these sand dunes in Brazil and scanned 3 miles of sand dunes, and then incorporated that into this volume that they do. And then they also talked about how Burnham was surfing on the top of the ship at warp. And then also they talked about those cool, on Planet Trill, those cloaking creatures. It was really interesting to see the crew members talk about this and the hard work that they had to do and making those sand skimmer things seem like really, real, like they actually went to location to do that.
Yeah, I loved learning that they went down to Brazil because I just assumed everything was up in Toronto, and that would have been. Well,
it was just the crew. It was just the VX crew that went down there. The crew itself did not go down there. Yeah,
yeah.
And so, but I would like to have seen like them walking around on the sand dunes a little bit more, like with their cameras, And people are like going out and like, "What are you doing?" Like, you'll see. Watch season 5 of Discovery. Yeah. You'll see.
Well, and it was, just so cool. You guys, please watch the Ready Room if you have access to it, because they're
on YouTube. It's free.
Yeah, they're on the
sand skimmers,
and just seeing all the production, the sparks and the smoke and the wind and the everything, was so cool. I really enjoyed that special effects segment. It's so amazing. And then what their comments, like Sonequa and the other actors, are like, there's so much going on. And with the inclusion of the VR wall as well, not all shows get the budget to use a VR. So we are very spoiled and lucky to have such a beautiful cinematic TV show. Let's just remember, this is television, not a movie.
What I do like is they have a combination of using the VR wall and then going to a location from time to time. Mm-hmm. When you have the VR room set up already, you do save money in production of not having to go outside everywhere or build another room with like physical stuff sets like that. And this type of filmmaking was started becoming a thing when Star Wars The Mandalorian first season started filming, because they have what's called the volume, very similar setup to what Discovery has in Toronto. And it's in Southern California. They have this closed off room that's like this big round room with screens all over it, and they can project anything they want on it and then throw in some practical effects in the middle to kind of fit the scenery. So it allows you to film in a safe environment without worry of elements of rain and stuff like that, unless you make it your own. And it's a very cool way to do it if you need to get certain shots and you can't, like, how else are you going to film on Planet Trill? And that's probably what they used in the VR room, was that they set up this cool area and did that thing. And it's really neat to see the behind the scenes, because you really got to give love to the VX crew and the behind the scenes people and how hard they work on shows like this. And I always respect that. So yeah. The other topic I did want to mention that, and this was more of the interview with Wilson Cruz, talking about with and Wil Wheaton brought it up, called Wilson Cruz's Space Family, Paul and Hugh's relationship. They're space parents now. And I love how Will brought up, do you guys have shipper names? And those are when you combine names of two people, like Brangelina was famous for that with Angelina and Brad. And Will goes, is it Cumits? And then Wilson goes, we like space booze. And then Will goes, I have a good one. How about Hugh Paul, like RuPaul? I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
But the fact that he discussed about working, this family environment's kind of a new thing for this couple, where they have this kid now and then someone else to kind of mentor. Your thoughts on that part of the interview?
Yeah, I really liked, seeing now that we have in our 5th season, the overall arc of Stamets and Culber, because they were talking about, how natural they were together. And I remember talking about it, like it just was there. It wasn't a statement. They were just together brushing their teeth. And so they're together and then they separate because of lots of death and stuff like that.
Death does that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the big breakup, but then the reuniting of them finding themselves. And I really enjoyed seeing that big arc and like where they are together. They're stronger, they're better, through that. So again, just a different way. I feel like this episode was all about connection and like how their connection as a couple has changed through the 5 seasons. And I think Wilson did a good job describing that.
Yeah, and I really liked what he had to say when he started kind of addressing the fans and his fellow Star Trek family. And that something you said too earlier when we were talking about the news report, talking about news earlier about how, there seemed to be more of fans saying, no, lower decks, petition, keep them around, but we're not getting that same reaction from fans about Discovery. And when you watch this interview, with Wilson, he kind of says something that's a little telling of that. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, how did he say? Forgive me. Like I said, I'm paraphrasing. He says, we might not have been what you expected
or wanted,
but we had a hell of a ride and he seemed very proud of it. What was your thoughts to that remark? That they know that Discovery is not everyone's favorite and it's gotten probably the most negative response than other Star Trek ever. What is your thoughts on that?
It reminds me back in the 90s Trek of our Enterprise. And even now, listening to the actors, they know that they are low man. They are the redheaded stepchild. I'm sorry, that's offensive, but they know that they're not the loved ones. I mean, and so I can see that similarity, but you're ours. You're ours. Yeah. So yeah, I get that there's been a lot of negativity and obviously they've heard it. And I feel bad for that they had to withstand that when
I feel though that it's made them as a family even closer. They've bonded together and they're absolutely wonderful at conventions and interviews. And they see and if you're listening to this and you're like, Kevin, why are you on this podcast if you're not a big fan of Discovery? Well, I'm a Star Trek fan, and it's not like I go Star Trek Discovery doesn't exist. It's lame. No. Because I do enjoy parts of Discovery. I can pick stuff out. I wouldn't have gone with the direction they've gone over these last, 4 or 5 seasons. They've dropped the ball several times. And if you're going to tell me they haven't, I'm sorry. I will debate that.
Right.
But I know there's lovers of Star Trek Discovery out there, and I encourage that. I encourage you, and I'm happy for you. But like I said, there is a lot of great moments in Discovery that I really, really enjoy. One of my favorite moments is when you get that kind of I don't know, was it season 4 or 3 where Burnham's getting that kind of tribunal and her mom's there, and there's that moment of Star Trek courtroom drama. One of my favorite moments in Star Trek was that scene itself. I get little tingles actually thinking about that. I just have not gone back and watched it, but I will remember that part. I'll remember certain scenes together, seeing Spock and Pike come on for the first time and all these other little things. Star Trek Discovery definitely is not what we expected and maybe wasn't what we wanted, but I think I do applaud them for taking a stab at something different and, trying to see if something works and sticks on the wall. If, I kind of have a feeling, though, because some people felt the same way about Star Trek Enterprise when it came out. But now that it's been around for a while, I'm wondering if it will reach new fans and people will turn and go, you know what? I need to give this another shot. I need to look at it with a different lens. People might start to feel differently about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enterprise is getting a lot of love. I mean, and even before that, Deep Space Nine was feeling like they weren't loved. But now, man, so many people love Deep Space Nine. Put it above TNG, which I don't.
Voyager was getting the same crap too at first, but I was in on Voyager from day one. I love Voyager.
Yeah.
I love me some Janeway. I love that cast. So
right, listen, every show has had their not high moments. It's all okay. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. All right, Amy, let me get your final comments or reactions to this week's episode of Discovery Season 5, Episode 3, Jinaal.
Even though there was plot A, B, C, and D, I thought it was still just episodic. Like we went to Trill, we had an adventure, and now we're done. So, which seems unfamiliar to Discovery. So I like that, and I hope that we're going to get another episode with a beginning, middle, and end. I'm really looking forward to Book and Maul and Locke. I want to see how that pans out. And I know that we don't get much more of Saru. He's not in every episode. And so I'm hoping that we will get more of that Tarina and Saru. I want a wedding out of this. I think that would be really good for Discovery.
When I'm just kind of looking ahead here, because as we look into the Orb of Prophecy, and I forgot to put it in the slideshow here, so I'm sorry guys, but the next episode is called Face the Strange. We're going to get more of Maul, obviously. We got a little sneak peek of next week's episode with the Ready Room interview. They showed the little creature, the little thing that was implanted in Nadira's arm pop up. It looks like a little kind of spidery creature, and it starts to walk around or do something. So we're kind of wondering what's going to happen there.
Do you know what that reminded me of? Did it remind you of anything?
It did, but I want you to go first.
Okay. So I did a recent rewatch. And so season 1 of Discovery with Mud, when they were in the Klingon ship prisoners. Okay. And that's when Lorca was taken. And that's where he met Ash Tyler. And Harry Mudd had that little listening device, little ant spider thing that would travel in. Okay. It really reminded me of that. So I'm wondering if it's a listening device and a tracking device.
It could be all of above. I went to Star Wars in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, when a creature was sent in to kill Padme Amidala, and Anakin Skywalker came in and killed it before it did. But yeah, I love little things like that with devices, but I'm fascinated by the character of Maul. I can't wait to see more.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you guys. This, of course, is Union Federation, where we discuss both Star Trek and the Orville, and we're of course teaming up here with the BQN here on the Fandom Podcast Network. And if you can, please check out our Union Federation podcast Facebook group. But more importantly, before I get into the contact information, Amy, you got us on some Discord. Tell us about Discord. This is fun.
Oh my goodness, guys, come over to Discord. Let us know. We'll get you an invite code. We're having so much fun talking about the episodes and all things Trek and non-Trek as well. Like we have our own little channel for non-Trek shows. It's been really fun and enjoyable. People who are listening to Union Fed and, talking with us. So come on over to Discord.
There's some great discussion on there. I had Discord already, only because my daughter likes to use it, and sometimes we watch videos or games with it when we're not together. And so I had the app already, but I didn't realize you could do so much with it. And I'm still kind of a little overwhelmed on how it works.
Yeah.
But I love seeing the thread going on, and I went to the Union Fed one. It was nice to see that. So yeah, make sure you guys check it out. And speaking of, how can we find you, Amy, and how can we find you on Discord?
Well, on Discord, my username is Amy Nelson 522. Which I'm also there on Instagram. On Facebook, I'm in our Union Federation group and the BQN Collective group there.
Awesome.
What about you, Kevin?
Well, first of all, you can find the Union Federation Facebook group. Please search for that. Ask to be in. We'll get you in there. Union Federation is also on X and Instagram. I am on X, Instagram, Threads, Letterboxd, and now Discord at Spartan_Phoenix. So you can easily find me there. So make sure you check us out. You can also email us at unionfederationpodcast@gmail.com. And please check out the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube page. That's where you can find these videos for all Union Fed, as well as our other shows on the mix. So, Amy, thank you for joining us again. And, of course, we'll be back next week. We should get Kyle back. He'll be back from his Planet Taxia away mission. Hopefully, we'll see Haley as well. So, make sure you guys check back. And is there anything real cool that's happening on the BQN Network you want to give a little tease to?
My goodness. Well, we're thinking about bringing on a new show for Beta Canon with books.
Okay.
Books. So... yeah, looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, this is Discovery's final season here, so make sure you join us for next week's episode. And as we always like to say, live long and prosper. And we are, without a doubt, the weirdest ship in the fleet. Thank you, everyone. Until next week, live long and prosper. Have fun.